had to turn the camera back on. Got to talk about this Rick Ross album, Port of Miami 2. Everywhere I go, people ask me, what do you think of it? I ask them, what do they think of it? The general consensus that I get is disappointing. That's the word, people. Okay. So this is a perfect opportunity in an era where conversation drives commerce more than music, as we've been telling you. And when it's more important to navigate your impact on society and culture as much as a core group of fans who you may have been beholden to trying to deliver a certain sound. So Rick Ross threads the needle very well on Port of Miami 2. And I want to break down a few points as to why. So this is a business and branding review. I'm not going to focus on the lyrics. I'm not going to focus on how hot the beats are, etc. And they all hot. But the reason people are having a negative reaction initially, it's going to change. Initially to the album, or I would say disappointing reaction, is because the full effect of what he's unveiling has not been manifest yet. So let's talk about where Ross is right now. Now, Hip-Hoppreneur, this is original research. We've commissioned research and we conduct our own custom research. This is where Rick Ross's career right now. He's at a stage where his high level of familiarity has almost worked against him. And what I mean by that is, this is a very long career that he's had relative to hip hop. We're going on 2 decades, we're in 2 decades now. And his fan base is literally like 12 to 55, like we've done the numbers. And in some instances, he's better known among young people now than people who are closer to his age. And I think that has happened partly not because people are not aware of him, but the music is what has been driving Rick Ross's career, with the exception of these big moments on TMZ, or you'll see him with Dwayne Wade. And generally speaking, it's not something that he did as much as it's something he's involved with other people, or something that happened to him. That's a big difference. So in Port of Miami 2, he's changing the conversation. Now, we're looking at this from the standpoint of his ability to drive conversation, which drives commerce, his ability to produce symbolic symbols, iconic moments, etc. That's about to kick off now. Why is Port of Miami 2 so brilliant, and I can call it a classic from a business and branding standpoint? One, it connects him more deeply with the community that he's from. So as you get bigger as an artist, you tend to naturally evolve away from where you came from, and it creates this natural tension. So you got to be careful when you do it. But he returned folks to a classic album, Port of Miami 1. And he did it with enough space in between where you kind of know it wasn't forced. You didn't have to do this. This is not like, if you think in terms of Star Wars or Black Panther 2, which I understand is coming in the year 2022, he took his time before he returned back to this. It's almost similar to what Raekwon did with Only Built for Cuban Links. But this roots him in a community that has tremendous credibility. Being from Miami will do a lot for anybody's career. Secondly, it wraps him in the qualities of that city that have nothing to do with the neighborhood. So Miami is a port city, so you got to think Venice, you got to think Hong Kong, you got to think Singapore, you got to think Amsterdam. Miami may be the definitive port city in America in terms of novelty, different cultures meeting one another, deals being made. So much of the allure of the criminal entrepreneurship element of what goes on in Miami is because you have these layered cultures: Colombian, Cuban, Jamaican, Haitian. Goes on and on and on. In that respect, maybe only New Orleans, as far as a city that's not landlocked, can compete, and of course New York. But Miami is special. So that's very important because now he's in the context of that. Then you got perfect timing. College football season is here. And the University of Miami Hurricanes are not going to win no national championship on the field from a competitive standpoint, but they will win the national championship of sparking colorful conversation, and that's what you want with the turnover chain and with the touchdown ring with Hurricane on it, the 305 now on the turnover chain. All of that matters subtly when you're starting to think of, okay, out of sight is out of mind. Boom, University of Miami, ESPN. Labor Day weekend, perfect timing again for Port of Miami too. Labor Day weekend. You think people are not going to be riding out to Port of Miami too? So you may have heard it die down over the last week or so, but you will hear Turnpike Ike, you will hear Vegas Residency, you will hear Summer Rain. It will be the soundtrack of Labor Day weekend. And then lastly, and this is the most important thing, Rick Ross released the album before his book came out. Book is coming out September 3rd. I pre-ordered it. It's called Hurricanes. Again, before hurricane season, in the midst of the Miami Hurricanes football, college football season, you now have that going on. So whether this is intentional or not, I believe it's intentional. This album and Rick Ross's time, they checking all of the boxes in terms of marketing and advertising. He is going to extend the conversation that his music could not. And that's the lesson. It's so hard for so many people who are caught up in evaluating the lyrics and the sound and what produced. That's all inside baseball, so to speak. That's like, it's the difference between a Mayweather fight and everybody else fighting. A Mayweather fight got everybody talking. Everybody was into it. Many people could care less who won. And many people only wanted to see him lose. That's the difference between an event and a competitive moment. So you have all these great fighters, the fight, it'll be like 10 of us that love boxing really even know what's going on. But if it's a Mayweather or Pacquiao fight, that's why that fight can work, by the way, still. Mayweather-Pacquiao is a horrible competitive event, but it's another big moment, regardless to how old they are, okay? Same thing with what we're seeing here with this album. It doesn't really matter. The album is hot. I still don't know what people are talking about. By the way, who produced Born to Kill? So the album's hot enough. But the point is, all of these things that have nothing to do with music, that have to do with culture or lifestyle or society, Rick Ross is integrated with that. And most of the time when you would hear about him, something happening to him, health challenge, him being in a beef involved with somebody else, 50 Cent, him with Dwayne Wade, so the power of association. That was driving a lot of what you saw with Rick Ross from a broader non-music standpoint. Now with the book coming, suppose he elaborates on the tension with him and Freeway Ricky Ross. There's a lot in the situation with 50 Cent. That's a potentially interesting conversation piece from someone who otherwise may not be a go-to person when you're looking for a hot take on something. Now, and then lastly, this is back to Miami again. So Rick Ross is one of the leading spokespersons for what I call the criminal entrepreneurship as the metaphor. It's a motivating force. Many people have a problem for it because some folks feel it has caused people to walk on both sides of the fence. Some people hear a rhyme that's talking about illegal or illicit activity. They go out, they start a business serving the community. Other people hear it, they go and get involved in illegal and illicit activity. I've seen both. I know for a fact that it has been like two sides of a coin. But if you are walking that line to the point where reality is blurred with illusion, the way that any great storyteller does, you have a captive audience. So this pivot to writing a book in an election year in a city like Miami, that's a capital of the opioid crisis in a cultural context. I mean, if they work this right, you could end up with, a Trump, anywhere from a Trump tweet to something popping off in Miami, and Ross has now laid the groundwork to be a reference point. Don't forget what happened in 1980 in Miami. There's a lot going on there. So that's how I look at it. I think, the fact that I'll go back to the football analogy, the fact that he played football, the move might be as soon as possible have Rick Ross with the turnover chain or with the touchdown ring. I'm serious. That takes you into all types of markets that you previously didn't thought, were open to you. He's credible as a former All-Dade County football player in high school. That's an easy one. But the real power move did come from the album and some of the disappointment related to the missing Pusha T verse. If Rick Ross can pull in Drake, Lil Wayne, Pusha T, getting them all together on one track, that'll generate more conversation, potentially more commerce than anything an album and sale of recorded music can do. So, bringing it back to the data, when you look at Ross's standing with folks who are as young as 12, as old as 55, what all of this does with Port of Miami too is it reverses the decline in intensity that he and every well-known, successful, famous artist experiences when their career spans a generation. And there are some lines on this album where he makes it clear that record sales are not the end-all, be-all. And I believe that's coming from a sincere place. He understands. So Port of Miami isn't about building on hit records. It's about building a franchise that has value. Again, Port of Miami 2 is more like Black Panther, the movie, or Star Wars, than it is an album from a aesthetically pleasing standpoint. There's a lot of value commercially from taking that Port of Miami franchise, building on the port city aspect, building on the culture of a diverse community with the layer of criminal entrepreneurship. You can go many, many places with that. So remember, Hip-Hoppreneur, because artists mature. This is an example of what we're talking about. If you would like for us to break down an album and your music from the standpoint of business and branding, and talk about some of the non-music revenue that opens up when you do something like this, or in terms of what you already have, sign up here for a consultation or visit the hiphoppreneur.com. We'll turn the camera off and turn on Port of Miami 2. Everybody get back with me on what you hear playing Labor Day weekend. Peace.